Punisher has made quite a name for himself as being a one-man army in Marvel Comics, the last guy that any villain wants to see coming after them. But what would happen if you took the Punisher and placed him in the dirty streets of Gotham City? How would Punisher do against Batman's villains? Let's find out. Lieutenant Frank Castle returned home from duty, only to see his wife and children murdered in front of him in cold blood by the Mafia. Unable to find justice by any fair means for them, Castle vowed to spend the rest of his life avenging them. Now equipped with state-of-the-art weapons, decades of combat experience, guerrilla and urban warfare techniques, he wages a one-man war against crime as the Punisher, a murderous vigilante that takes no prisoners, constantly putting him at odds with other heroes around him. Punisher has trained himself into peak physical condition. He's way strong, way tough, and surprisingly fast too. Like Frank might still be just a normal human, but he's strong enough to overpower multiple men at once and even snap metal with just his pure brute strength. The Punisher has even straight up punched a polar bear square in the face. Apparently he's got no problem with animal cruelty. Punisher is also very fast enough to contend in fights with some of the best Marvel street tiers out there and dodge their attacks. Like I'm talking Wolverine, Daredevil, Captain America, or Spider-Man, dodging attacks from all of them. Frank is also very fast on the draw too, like clearly raising his rifle into position in the same time as lightning is striking the ground. Literally, undeniably moving at the same speed as lightning. But probably the best thing going for Punisher is the man is tough. He is very tough. Like if there's one thing you need to know about Frank, it's that the man can take a beating. He's also always wearing some pretty great armor too. Armor that's protected him from some low-grade explosions, electric blast, or lots and lots of bullets. And the kicker is that nothing is going to stop the Punisher from completing his mission. He's kept on going for days on end. He can completely ignore a whole lot of pain and punishment, and ultimately is just a very hard man to put down. And on top of that, well, Frank Castle is a one-man army. He can more than hold his own in a fight. He knows a whole lot of different fighting techniques and is proficient in many different forms of martial arts. Punisher is absolutely no problem taking down multiple trained men at once, fighting whole groups of people all by himself, or battling against a lot of the best fighters in Marvel. Like Punisher has fought against the likes of Daredevil, Wolverine, Black Widow, Deadpool, and plenty more. He's either beaten them in the fight or gone down swinging and made life very difficult for some of the most skilled combatants on Earth. And the one thing that makes Punisher different from almost any other guy out there is that he has absolutely no problem with guns or killing. Frank is a lethal shot. He's one of the most accurate men in the whole world, can land headshots like it's nothing, and Punisher is so good with a gun in his hand that he's able to accurately hit Spider-Man as Spider-Man is dodging around. Between his skill, his weapons, and Frank's years of experience, well, the Punisher is the last person you want to run across if you're a criminal. He's putting you down for sure. This just isn't even close. Any mob-like villain in Gotham, and Punisher is taking them out with ease. Literally, all it would take is just shooting him in the face, either one of them. And Frank has no problem with doing just that. Same with the Penguin. At best for Oswald Cobblepot, well, he's just a weaker and lesser version of Kingpin. Punisher has plenty of experience taking down gangsters. He's going to leave the Iceberg Lounge just completely trashed. Now, the Riddler obviously doesn't pose any kind of physical threat to Punisher, and if Frank ever runs into him, Riddler is gone. But you could also argue that Riddler could trap Punisher in a death match. It might be the more intellectual villains that pose a problem to Frank. But honestly, Well, I think it's more likely that Nigma just manages to escape. He's not going to be too interested in playing with the Punisher, and Frank isn't smart enough to find or catch Riddler if Riddler doesn't want to be caught. Now, this is one that we've actually seen play out in a comic before. Punisher made his way to Gotham, and he had Joker dead to rights. He was going to kill Joker, and Joker knew it. Frank would have got him if Batman hadn't intervened. Now, maybe you can argue that, just like Riddler, Joker manages to set up an elaborate enough death trap to put Punisher down, but I think more likely this comic just plays out without Batman there to step in. Catwoman is another easy win for Punisher if Punisher actually wanted it to be. He tolerates Elektra, so he might tolerate Catwoman and just let her live. But if Punisher wanted to kill Catwoman, well, I bet he could. He's arguably a better fighter. He can fight Daredevil and Black Widow to a stalemate. And again, Frank is the one here who's going to be going for the kill. Punisher is winning this one with ease, because Frank is nothing if not a man prepared. And Scarecrow is as simple to beat as properly prepping beforehand to filter out the fear gas and not let it affect him. From there, well, Scarecrow is taken down just as easy as any other criminal. Okay, here is where it begins to get a lot harder for Punisher. Now, yeah, it's debatable whether or not Deadshot even still counts as a Batman villain, but if he goes up against Punisher, well, it's about a 50-50 fight. Deadshot is the better shot between the two of them. He's essentially superhuman when it comes to his marksmanship abilities, but Punisher is more a jack of all trades and is the better all-around fighter. He's still insanely accurate, but is stronger, tougher, and is the better hand-to-hand fighter as well. Plus, Frank has experience with Bullseye, so he'll know what to expect here going up against Deadshot. But still, about 50-50. Now, Killer Croc can be wildly inconsistent at times, so there could be moments where Croc could get beat by Punisher if Punisher plays it real smart and lays enough explosions to actually take Croc out. But more likely than not, if Punisher isn't super smart about it, Killer Croc is gonna beat him. The guy is just completely bulletproof, so a lot of Punisher's arsenal isn't gonna affect him, and Croc has even done crazier stuff, like take explosions, crash land from the upper atmosphere, or take punches from General Zod. More likely than not, Killer Croc is just way too tough for Punisher on a normal day, and Croc dog walks him. But of course, still the option for Frank to prep enough to take the big reptile down. Let me tell you, Clayface would be nearly impossible for Punisher to beat without some serious prep beforehand, because Clayface is just completely, entirely bulletproof. You can't stab or shoot Clay, so a lot of Frank's gear is just gonna do nothing. Now, Punisher can seriously prep if he wants to. He's actually amassed a pretty impressive arsenal over in Marvel from all the supervillains he's killed, or just stealing from the heroes. So Punisher could get Chirotech or powerful enough explosives and flames to take Clayface down. But if this is just straight the Punisher as he is, there's really no way for him to beat Clayface. Here's another really tough villain for Punisher to beat. But it does depend on what version of Bane you're talking about. Like if it's Bane who's just the big, dumb, super strong brute, well, you can argue that Punisher can get lucky and beat him. But if Bane is at his best, well, he's a guy who can beat all up on Batman and is completely bulletproof. So that's a very hard ask for Punisher and should be dang near impossible. Bane would be better than Frank in every way, and amped up on Venom isn't going to be taken down by Punisher's weapons. Now, I don't want to brush over the fact that Punisher could take Venom away from Bane and then beat Bane. We're talking about a guy who took down War Machine with just a knife. But I still think Bane beats Punisher more times than not. Yeah, Punisher isn't beating Poison Ivy, at least not if they're remotely close to each other. Punisher isn't getting around Poison Ivy's pheromones and manipulation. And Ivy is just more powerful now than ever. She's attached to the green and could straight up transform Frank into a tree. You could argue that Punisher either plays it smart or gets very lucky and manages to snipe Ivy from a serious distance. But outside of that, well, Ivy wins more often than not. Deathstroke is beating Punisher pretty much every single time, because Punisher's good while Deathstroke is better. Deathstroke outstats Punisher in every way, literally being a superhuman. He's also a better fighter too. And not just that, but he's got better tech, better armor, better weapons. We'll have no problem putting Punisher in the dirt. There's really no way that Punisher could beat Deathstroke. Not when Slade is literally better in every single way. He's just way too much for Punisher to handle.